All right, we are now recording. We should be all set. So
Awesome. Okay, welcome everyone to the first RCOS meeting of the summer 2021 semester. We're going to start off with some introductions. Currently, RCOS is run by Professor Turner, who I'll let introduce himself.
sure. Hi, I'm Professor Turner. I'm the director of RCOS and the uh, the person you're going to come to with your questions on grading and things like that. Um, my office, assuming I get there this semester, is in Amos Eaton 207. I generally have an open door policy, so you can, if my door is there and open, you're welcome to come by. Um, when we hold WebExes, all of the people who are attending remotely will go to this WebEx, and you can reach me at either of my emails, my RPI email or my W Turner email. I'm going to set up some kind of formal office hours. I don't know what the rules are going to be yet, whether I can do it in person or whether we have to do it via WebEx. And I also don't know exactly what days I'm going to be in yet, because again, all of that is kind of up in the air. So I'll give you some office hours uh, later in the semester, but for right now, use Discord, contact me via email, and we'll try to keep things going. I think I'm also going to introduce David because he can't be here. David Goldschmidt, this is his Arcos profile. Um, he's the assistant director. Um, he's also the executive, the department executive, so he can help us get anything done we need to. He does a lot of the paperwork. If we need to change credits, if you need to add or drop, late in the semester or something like that, David's the guy to go to. I'll funnel any questions of that sort to him, but he is a generally all around good guy, and he's available to help as well. Evan?
Yeah, so I'm Evan, Professor Makis. Um, that's me in the right there, not bottom left. That's my dog Charlie. My research was in automated code assessment, and I'm the third most frequent contributor to Submittee, which some of you may be working on this term. I've been active in open source both through Submittee, and then also I presented at the Google Summer of Code Munich conference in 2019. There's a list here of some of my other likes and things that you can chat to me about if you want to. I'm coming on to help this term with Professor Turner, um, and so I'm going to be completely remote this term. But that'll be good because I'll be focusing on talking with some of you who maybe have some remote requirements and doing some more asynchronous help or away from regular lecture as well.
I'm Nia. I've been here forever. For those of you who don't know, I run the infrastructure stuff, so the RCOS database and API. I'm currently maintaining, and Telescope, which is eventually going to replace the RCOS website, I'm also maintaining. This is my 8th semester in RCOS, second semester coordinating, 7th semester mentoring. So I'm very versed in RCOS history. I don't bite. You can contact me at my RPI email or on Discord. I'm around. I think I'll also introduce Hunter, who cannot be here until 2:30 or so. Hunter is my co-coordinator this semester. He's the Pole Buddy project manager and full stack developer. He has been in Arcos for 6 semesters. This is his second semester coordinating, and his email and Discord are also listed here. Feel free to contact him or myself if you have any questions or concerns regarding anything really. And if we can't answer you, we'll forward you on to Professor Turner or something. So I think we're ready to get into what is Arcos. Um, Our mission is to cultivate an inclusive, creative, entrepreneurial community that seeks to empower students to develop open source solutions to real world problems. Arcos was founded in 2006 by a very generous $2 million donation from Sean O'Sullivan. who I believe is an RPI alumni.
Yep.
And since then, we've gained momentum with the launch of the open source software course, and then Red Hat rejuvenating our funding in 2015. Our students and projects have also grown steadily over the years. These are some graphs of, that history. Overall, we've had 2,500 students or more, and nearly 900 projects or more. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. That was 2019 statistics versus today's statistics. So we've even had more.
Sorry about that. I threw that in as a gotcha, I guess.
So yeah, we're very happy to have everyone, and we're very happy to keep this this organization strong. We've got 60 people on this WebEx call currently, which is, I think, on the higher side for a summer semester. So happy to have all of you. We've got a number of past projects that have made it into the RPI community, including Yaks, which is a course scheduler. We've also got Quacks, which is another course scheduler, actually. That was, I think, intended to replace Yaks to some extent. We've got Flom, which is the Folsom Library occupancy monitor. So if you're going to the library, but you want to know in advance if there is a study room open or available, Flom's the way to go. We have Submittee, which I'm sure everyone in the computer science department knows about. It's used by a wide variety of computer science classes to grade papers, to have discussions. So we love Submittee here. We have Shuttle Tracker, which we're working on. We I guess work on with the web technology group at the union, and that's a very cool project. We track the shuttles. There's not more to it. And then Open Circuits, which is a project that helps electrical engineering students and ECSE students simulate digital and analog circuits. RCOS is a proud affiliate member of the OSI. The OSI is the Open Source Initiative, and I think we're one of the few, if not the only, student-led organizations in the OSI, so we're very happy about that. And now on to Professor Turner with the course requirements.
Yeah, cool. So with OSI, we were actually the first student organization as well, student affiliated organization as well. So it's really kind of a when you see us when you look through our notes and you find out that we tell you have to license your code via an OSI approved license. There are reasons why we're a member of the OSI as far as the open source stuff goes. Thank you, Nia. Those are examples of some of the projects that we have going on. Some of them will run this semester. I expect Submittee will. Evan may be able to shed more light on that. He's been like you said, he's the third most prolific submitter for Submittee. I think, Yaks and Quacks are certainly up and running. I don't know how much new development they're doing this semester, but they were doing both of them were doing new development last semester. So they're continuing projects that have been going for a while. Most of the projects that were up there are actually going for quite some time. So let's talk about the semester. I know there's a lot of questions on how to actually get a good grade in RCOS, how to operate over the semester, what we expect of you, what you're supposed to be doing. So let's just start by breaking it down to the anatomy of a semester. We're in the blue phase right now. Right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get you up to speed on what RCOS is all about. And then we're going to try to get you associated in the next couple of days with the project. And if you think that that's a fast process, you are absolutely right. We want you to spend most of your time this semester working in an open source way with with open source projects and getting the experience and using the tools and the communications and the interpersonal connections that you need to make in order to make an effective open source project. We want to get you to that part as quickly as possible. So we are going to force you to move very quickly on defining and picking your projects. We'll have 2 pitches today, I believe, unless somebody else wants to volunteer, in which case we'll have 3 or 4 or 5. But we'll have 2 pitches today. We'll have the bulk of the pitches this Friday. These are all projects that either exist in RCOS already, projects that come to us from external. I think IBM has about 8 projects they want to pitch to us where they want to work with us. IBM has a big thrust into open source. They bought Red Hat a few years ago for $4 billion. They have at least a $4 billion investment in open source, and they want to continue promoting and working with it. So they have a bunch of projects. A lot of them arise from something called the Call for Code, which is a humanitarian open source contest kind of that they hold every year, where they try to get students working on students and other people working on items of normally global interest, reactions to disasters, etc. They have about 8 projects they want to pitch to us that they could use some help on. We have Open Energy Dashboard that ran last semester. Again, it's a project to try to improve utilization of resources by remote monitoring of efficiencies of power distribution. We have, and now I'm starting to blank on the ones we have. We have a tutoring application. We have an application from our resident, our MPAC artist and resident on electronic music. We have something called Elephant Book. So we have a lot of that's going to help us identify and preserve elephant species in Africa. So we have a lot of external projects. Quite honestly, this is the first semester ever that we may have enough external projects that if we got 5 or 6 people on every one of them, we could carry it without having to add any additional new projects. But that doesn't mean you can't add projects. We'll talk about how you add projects in just a few minutes. We'll get you through that part in, today, Friday, and if necessary, next Tuesday, we'll finish up our pitches. Following pitches, we'll have something called project pairing, where you'll join together and form your groups and figure out what projects you want to work with. Meet your mentors if you're not one of the mentors. Just all the paperwork for getting yourselves organized into groups and into working communities. And immediately after that, what you'll start doing is telling me what you're going to do this semester by writing a proposal. External projects frequently have a pretty good idea of what they want to do. They'll have at least a skeleton of a proposal. Maybe they'll have something really well fleshed out. Take a look at it, put in some milestones specific to you, make sure you understand what you're getting into. All of that ends up by, I think, the 11th of June. So by the 11th of June, we're expecting that not only have you picked a project, but you've defined your project and you've actually started working and you've entered this kind of green area. That leaves us about 6 to 10 weeks, depending on how many projects we have, to execute only on our projects. We'll continue to hold meetings, but we'll expect you to be working pretty consistently on your projects, reporting progress to us, making commits, learning what you need to learn. And at the end, we'll have a wrap-up period. The wrap-up period isn't a time to just coast. We want you to continue working, but during the wrap-up period, we will have longer meetings where you all get a chance to present your work and tell us what cool things you actually did this semester. So that's kind of the anatomy in a timeline. I will, in every one of our meetings, be putting up this timeline and showing you kind of where we sit in the semester. Right now we are way out here. We've got lots of time, but that lots of time is only about 15 weeks or 12 weeks, I guess, for the summer. We're going to ask you to work on one project during the semester. If in general, that's a good match. If you have some really specific reasons that you need to work on more than one, we're willing to talk to you about it. You're also welcome to make contributions to any open source project you'd like. and count it. But we do want you focusing on one project during the semester. Like this says, like I just said earlier, we'll have a main pitch meeting this Friday, 5/28. Today we have 2 pitches. We'll wrap up anything we don't get through on Friday next Tuesday. We do have a project pitch form. So if you want to pitch, if you want to pitch, go to that link, or I think if you scan this QR code and I did everything correctly, it should take you to the pitch form. It's going to ask you a few questions, who you are, how long you've been doing RCOS. We like to make sure that you have a little bit of experience, or you know what you're getting into, or we want to talk to you about it. What's the name of your project? A quick 1 or 2 line expression of what you're going to do, and your availability to pitch on different days. So if you have a great idea, you want to start a project, and it's encouraged. We do have a lot of external projects this semester. We have a number of returning projects, but there's always room for new interesting projects. So think about it. We have 70 people now, which is up 10 from when I first started counting. So we're getting room for more projects as we go along. The end of next week is kind of the deadline for picking your project and forming your teams. And then once you've formed your teams, you're going to start working on your project, and we give you a week to tell us what your project actually is, so you can work with your colleagues to figure out and define and kind of polish up your project proposal. In general, during the semester, particularly in that middle period, we're going to open up each meeting with a review of current status. It's really critical. This is probably the most important meeting of the year because we're telling you all of this information, but it's really critical that you show up and pay attention to the meetings. We do take attendance. Attendance counts. Well, we'll get to the rubric in a second, but we do take attendance. In general, you can miss a couple, but you need to be attending things. You need to be monitoring Discord because I need a way to talk to you. I need a way to communicate. And in these small groups, it's kind of easy to get caught up in your own project and get lost and miss vital things like deadlines for getting your presentation, picking your presentation date, etc. So every meeting will start with a short, sometimes it's 15 minutes, but just a short summary of the information. If you're in a different time zone, if you're attending asynchronously, we do record them all. They're really easy to watch. We generally have an attendance code embedded in them, so they're easy to get through 15, 20 minutes. You're through, you get the attendance code, and you can attend remotely. We ask that you do that within 24 hours because, again, our goal is to get information out to you as quickly and as regularly as possible. And if you save up all of your RCOS lectures to watch together one after another 3 weeks later, well, we haven't gotten information to you in a timely fashion. So it's really critical that you follow this, that you stay up with it, and that you do your attendance. Next week, we're going to start formal attendance. Today, I have a to-do item later in the presentation about going on to RCOS.io and marking yourself as active. And if you do that, I will give you credit for attendance today. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for Friday. Maybe we'll just make that a free day, but don't count on it. For today, though, if you go to RCOS.io and fill out your bio and mark yourself as active, I will mark you as having attended. We talked about the general thing. We open up the meeting, we give you 15 minutes, and then we kind of turn you loose to meet with your team and do some collaborative working together. We also offer what's called bonus sessions, and each of our mentors are going to be required to give a bonus session, and perhaps Evan will give one on something fun. Maybe I'll give one. We'll have bonus sessions scattered throughout the semester. We try to have at least one a week. They're generally on a Wednesday. Bonus sessions are tutorials on different topics we're going over. We'll have one on Git. We'll have one on there's generally one on some kind of web framework. There's generally one on some of the projects we have. There's generally one on project management. All sorts of nice little topics that may be of interest to you. In the open source environment, we require that you make at least one bonus session, and bonus session attendance will be recorded. The same as attendance at at our normal meetings. I don't think we're going to be breaking up into separate large small group meetings. If you've done RCOS before, prior to the pandemic, we were breaking up into large and small group meetings. I think we're going to try to run these all as one singular type meeting. We're still trying to figure out some of the details on that, and we'll communicate that as we go along. All right. I should probably go in the other direction. We do have a grading rubric. We talked about attendance. Attendance is worth 10% of your grade. You're allowed to, I think I talk about this in more detail. Yeah. I know. So for attendance, you are allowed to miss 2 classes completely. Again, missing 2 classes doesn't mean you shouldn't figure out what's going on in the class, but it does mean that when I count up the attendance, I immediately drop 2. You can make up another 2 attendances by attending more than 1 bonus session. So your first bonus session counts for a bonus session. And if you attend other ones, you can make up up to 2 additional missed attendances. Now, attendances only count 10%. So it's not like it's a huge barrier, but we do want you attending, and we do have to throw some points at it to make sure that we can communicate with you. After the first couple of weeks, once you're on actual projects, and we will announce this, you'll have written status updates to submit. Status updates, and I do talk about a little bit, but those will count 25% of your grade. They're basically just a running tally of stuff you're doing, so we can check week by week. Think of them as a lab report. It tells us what you're doing, what you're working on, so that we can keep abreast of any issues you're actually having. So this is the major grade through the first 3 quarters of the semester. So they're only 35, the first 3 quarters of the semester, we're only measuring 35% of your grade. The major contributor to your grade is going to be open source contributions. And I have a whole section on those. We'll go into what that is, but that's going to count about 50% of your grade, or it's going to count 50% of your grade. And then finally, you're going to have to do a final project presentation. This is a group grade. Your group will get graded on how well you present, or on the stuff you present for your project. We'll talk again about that as we get a little bit closer. But it involves more than just what you accomplished. It's how you set up the community, what your licensing looks like. Do you have contributor guidelines? Can you tell us what it is you were trying to do along with what it is you actually accomplished? So that counts about 15% of your grade. Generally, these have been getting really good. So we've had some really good project presentations. I look forward to that part of the year every semester. Okay, let's talk about these in a little bit more detail, just so that you know that we have an actual rubric that goes along with this. So for the status update and the project proposal, we do have a grade here. We drop 3 for this semester. We're going to drop 3 status updates. Of the remaining, we want you to have high quality status updates documenting each issue you worked on and problems you solved or investigate deeply. We want to make sure that your project's set up correctly with a README and additional documentation if necessary. And that's kind of how we scale your status update grade, and it kind of goes down from there. We're going to drop 3 status updates during the summer. Generally, we drop 4 during the regular semester, but that's another couple of weeks. So we'll drop 3 over the summer. I think that should give you about 6 if I'm measuring it correctly. This is the anatomy of a minimal, right? This would be a good score, but it wouldn't be. This isn't the absolute best status update you can do. I want to point out the pieces that it has. It has to have all of these pieces. It has to have who you are. It has to have what your project is. Remember that this summer we're going to be reviewing 70 of these every week, roughly. So we need to know, it's hard for us to, as you click through the Submittee interface, to keep track of the order that the projects come up in, right? So you need to tell us who you are. You need to tell us the project. You need to tell us what you did this week. Have a little header this week. Tell us what you did. We let you drop 3 of these because you're not going to do something every week, most likely. If you do, great. That's what we're aiming for. But we're giving you a little bit of slack. And the little bit of slack is you get to drop 3 of them. Right? So tell me what you did. And this is for this was like the first status update. I investigated the 19 projects in RCOS for the summer and settled on the UNK unknown project. A little bit about it, what you did. In this case, I wrote the proposal, created the project in Github, and I opened an issue. Give me a plan for next week. This should be a paragraph. This should be a paragraph, right? Don't give me, I don't know. Don't give me enough information that I don't have to go back and read all of your other status updates to figure out where you are. So next week, I plan to create some storyboards describing user system interactions and begin to create a UI design. I'll also begin surveying my community to put together a potential advisory list. I want a section called blockers. If you don't have any blockers, give me a sentence saying there are no blockers. I want to know you thought about this. Okay? Because if you didn't think about it, if you just throw it out, then I don't know whether you're stuck and floundering or whether you just didn't put anything in. So tell me. And then finally, I want links. Okay, so let's talk about links. This fits into the idea of open source contributions. And there we go. I don't know why that got smaller when I went to the links. But you notice I clicked on it and I come here and here's a commit, right? It's not a very big commit. You can see that it's just one line showing how to create with a README in it that says how to create a repository. But this is what a link is. This is a link in specific. This is a link to a commit, right? This is one of the ways you can make an open source contribution. If we pop back here, I have another link down here. This link is to an issue that I created, right? Remember I said I created an issue. Notice I click on it. I go directly to the issue. Here's me. This is the issue I created. And this can be a whole stream of responses and counter responses from other people, but it goes directly there. Notice it doesn't come here, right? It doesn't go to the root of the it doesn't go to my name. It doesn't go to the root of the repository, right? Right. It goes directly to those specific contributions that I want to count towards my grade. So there's a lot of confusion about that sometimes. The way GitHub works, the way GitLabs work, if you are contributing to the main branch, it's really easy for us to get your commits, assuming we know what the repository is. If you're not contributing to the main branch, if you're contributing to a bug branch or something else, you can't see these very easily. You have to go through and hunt them all. So if you give us a list, then when we have to evaluate you, we don't miss anything, right? We're not doing this because we want to make more work for you. We're doing this because we want to catch everything that you're actually contributing. And if you send us links, then we know we've got it all, okay? So just be very cognizant of that. Your status updates stand alone, right? You're getting a grade for your status update. Your status updates don't count towards your open source contributions. These links are shorthands for you. We're going to ask you to give us a list of your contributions at 2 points during the semester. We'll do a quick evaluation about halfway through. It won't be for a grade. It won't count against anything, but we'll just take a quick look at your contributions about halfway through the class, and then we'll take a real look at your contributions at the end of the class when we're trying to assign you a grade. So those 2 times we'll ask you to give us lists of links. Just go the intent is to have you just go back through your previous status updates, grab them, put them in a file, and submit them to us, right? So we're trying to make this as easy as possible. That's why this is here. This isn't part of what we're grading. If you don't have any links, just say there are no links this semester or this week, or I don't have any contributions to report this week. That's fine. Make sure you do report some at some weeks, because we're going to have to go back and you're going to have to give us them at the end of the semester. Okay, any questions on any of this so far? I'm trying to be really thorough on this because this seems to be the part where I get the most questions. So if you have any questions, please,
We had a
please,
few in the chat
few in the
here,
chat.
which
Okay.
I think I have answered, but if you want to follow up on any of them, go for it. Someone just asked what counts as a blocker and does it have to be technical?
Okay.
And then someone else was asking about how to sign into RCOS.io.
Okay. So you should be, if you have an RCOS email, hopefully you've got that working again. You should be able to authenticate to RCOS by CAS. You will have to be on the VPN to do the authentication, though, I believe. If you have
On
an issue,
RCOS.io?
if you're setting up, do we validate with CAS? No, we don't validate.
No, not
Okay.
on Observatory.
Not observed. Okay. Just to throw this out there, Nia is actually working on the replacement for Observatory. So at some point this semester, maybe in the next couple of weeks, we'll be switching over. But I don't have that available just yet. So we're kind of working from Observatory just yet. But yeah, sign up. You should be able to create an account on Observatory. No prior experience with GitHub is needed. We'll have a class, but we also have a lot of mentors, and I've been doing a lot of Git lately. So we have people who can help you with GitHub. That's not going to be your blocker. So let's go back to the technical blocker question. So let's talk about what we're looking for with blockers. I can't help you if you have another test. Okay, I'm not going to go to the other professor and say, Nia has a test this week, or Nia has to submit some stuff to RCOS this week, so I need her to be able to skip your test. Right? I can't help you there. That's not something that I can jump in. I can't ask a mentor to take a look at it. So what we want with the blockers is we want something where you're stuck and we can help. If you're sick, you're stuck, there's not much I can do. I can give you extra time, to turn in your status update or something like that if you get me an excused absence, but I can't look up online how to get over, a broken toe. So this is meant to be a way for you to communicate with your mentor, with Professor Makis, with myself, what things you're actually having problems with that we can help provide a solution to, either by pointing you in the right direction, making some suggestions, or, maybe it's something we already know. So, it should be a technical blocker. If you don't get anything done because you had a test, put that up in this week's report. I had a test. I was up till 4:00, 4 straight nights, and I was seeing yellow sharks swimming around my room, so I didn't feel like I could contribute this week. That's something you did this week. It's not a blocker as far as we're concerned because there's nothing we can do about it. I happen to like yellow sharks. Okay, does that kind of answer that part of the question at least? There's a purpose to all of these. That this week is so you can reflect on what you did, and mainly it's for you and a little bit for us. But this week is for you to reflect on what you did so that you can see that you're accomplishing something or see that you're not accomplishing anything and maybe you need to rethink things. Next week is your goals. If you don't have a goal when you start the week, it's really popular for you, or really common for you to kind of flounder a little bit. And you'll see these same things. This is analogous to a stand-up meeting, by the way. This is pretty much what you do in a stand-up meeting in a 5-minute presentation in most of the agile types of developments. Okay. All right. Attendance. This is kind of an easy rubric. You're allowed to miss 2. You can miss another 2 as long as you make them up with bonus sessions, and you have to have at least 1 additional bonus session beyond any makeups. If you don't do that, we start taking off points. So that's kind of the rubric there. It's pretty straightforward. We do, by the way, if you do have an excused absence, let me know. I'm still going to ask that you watch the video. You don't have to do it. In general, you're going to have to watch the video within 24 hours either attend live or watch the video within 24 hours in order to get credit for attendance, because that's kind of my limit on currency of information. Right after 24 hours, we're pretty close to the next meeting, and you've lost an opportunity to, you may have lost an opportunity to respond to something. So you'll have to do this within 24 hours. If you have an excused absence, I'll give you additional time. It's not a problem. This is the most confusing one, open source contributions. We're looking for you, in general, I like to say we're looking for 2 reasonable contributions per week over the course of the semester. So, what that means is if you go in every week and you change one line of one file, or you add one comment to one file, that's not a lot of open source contributions. Unless, of course, they happen to be the critical comments that allow the whole project to run. But what we're looking for is 2 or so contributions per week of a reasonable size. You touch a couple of files, you make a couple of substantive changes. Maybe you author, and maybe one week you only have one commit, but you author 3 new files. You write a substantial block of code. We're looking for something beyond a one-line change to a piece of documentation. That doesn't mean we're not looking for documentation. Documentation commits count, wikis count, issues count. If you're adding testing code, or you're setting up CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development tests on GitHub, that counts. All of that stuff counts, but we want to see it, and it does have to be explicit. So go through, be active on GitHub. You don't have to know a lot of GitHub. We can help you through that. That's a strictly mechanical thing. You'll be pretty good at it by the end of this semester if you're making a lot of contributions. Don't let yourself get stuck for too long without doing something. If you have a lot of contributions and they're fairly long and they're sustained over the semester, right? We're also looking for something that from about the 4th week on, we're starting to look for you to actually be making contributions. So we want a sustained effort over the entire semester of reasonable amount of effort, reasonable, that demonstrates a reasonable amount of work. It doesn't have to be all code. As you start stepping back from that, you start getting weighted against. So there are lots of ways to count contributions. Quality code commits, right? That's something more than, I saw one commit where somebody added debug, and then tested, and then added debug, and then tested, and then removed all the debug, and no lines were changed. It's kind of hard to give you credit for quality code commits without an issue tracker issue telling me what you're actually doing, right? The net result was no difference from the final state to the initial state. Those commits had no, they didn't find a problem. We don't know what problem was being chased. We need to have, if you're doing that, write an issue for it and then link to the issue as well, so we can kind of walk through and see what you're doing. And as you explore the issue, go through and describe what it is you're doing and what you're finding, right? So you see down here, issues, all of the all GitHub projects have a built-in issue tracker. Use it. If you are, for example, new to a project and you're trying to install it, and it turns out that you're running into issues that take you 3 weeks to install and get the project running, well, document it, right? The problems you're having should be issues in the issue tracker. As you go along and find and fix the issues, you can document the fixes in the issue itself, and or update the installation guide in the project, in the project README or the project documentation. There's not really, there's no reason to go for weeks struggling with problems. There should be some artifacts associated with them. If you're trying to learn a new technology and you're running through a bunch of tutorials, well, links to the tutorials don't do you any good. But if you write me a document describing the tutorial, like if you've ever seen a annotated bibliography, if you're going through tutorials, write an annotated bibliography of the tutorial and put that someplace in the repository, or in a fork of the repository, right? Find a way to make a contribution, to make the things you do, to give me evidence that what you're doing this week was useful, and do it in an open fashion. User studies, hardware designs, design documents, all of those are valid contributions if they're put into an open repository. Don't use Google Docs, right? Google Docs is a horrible way. Wonderful way to work, awesome way to work collaboratively, awful way to annotate data for a repository. Put it right in the repository where it's going to live. It's just really hard to find. If you've ever tried to search Google Documents for somebody else's file, you'll know what I mean. And don't just give me links to read or watch tutorials, right? That's not what we're looking for. We don't want to see the tutorial you saw. We want a document with a link to the tutorial you saw, a description of it, why it's good, and how it helped you, right? And if you do that document and then put a link to the tutorial, well, then that's a valid contribution. And here we go. We understand that during the first semester of participation or during the first semester of a new project, you don't always have a lot of code to commit. Don't let that keep you from making open source contributions. If you're having problems, contact us. Talk to your mentor, talk to our coordinator, talk to the faculty advisor. Make sure you're getting stuff in there that you can put in links that I can click on and see your stuff. I can't, even with only 70 of you in the summer, there's no way for me to go through and know what all of you are working on all the time. We need something that we can go back and track. Do I have one more? Yeah, one more thing I wanted to say is that, I talked about putting documentation and tutorials and issues and guides. Not all projects are going to want you to do that in the repository, in the prime repository. The beautiful thing is you don't have to do it in the prime repository. We prefer that you get stuff pushed up. If you make a change, if you make a commit, if you do something useful, we want you to offer it to the community. Let's say you're working on my unknown project, offer it back to me. But if I don't want it, you can fork my repository, have a complete copy of it, and put your stuff in your copy of the repository. That's a that's a open publication, right? As long as it's licensed correctly, that's perfectly valid. And I've used there's something called GitStats, which is an open source project for getting statistics on Git repositories. The main GitStat repository is broken, or at least it's broken for certain versions of Windows and Mac. I go to the one of the forked repositories all the time to get things that haven't been pulled into the main repository. The person who forked the repository and put the changes in that the main repository didn't have time to accept did the open source world a service, right? And it counts, and it will count for you as well, even if it's only contributions to your own private fork, or not private fork, own public fork of an existing repository, so long as everything's licensed correctly. Okay, so that's the main thing you have to look at as you go through. If you're working in an open source community and you're not finding a good way to contribute back, start contributing locally and build up a good tutorial and then offer it back to them. But give us links to your fork of the repository, and we will count those. Don't go all semester and say, well, they didn't want me to check this stuff in. Well, that's okay. You don't need to commit that to theirs. Commit it to yours. We can see it there. We can see what you did. I know I'm getting a little long-winded on this, but these are the issues that come up every semester. Okay? And I just want to make sure we get through as many of these as possible. Like I said, this may be the most important meeting of the year. Okay, and final project presentation. We want everybody participating. I know that with the remote semester, if one of your people is in China or in a bad time zone, I think we had some people in Russia and Algeria in previous semesters. They don't necessarily have to talk, but they should be involved in preparing it. And you should be able to present, at least in broad strokes, what it is that they contributed. But as long as you do that, and give a compelling and interesting presentation, everything is going to be absolutely fine with the presentation. We actually do have a rubric, and we'll give it out closer to the presentation date. But if you're working hard and you're learning stuff, there's always something to present. All right. So I went over a bunch of stuff, and I know that it was long-winded and boring, and hopefully it will also be useful. We have a syllabus, and I will put the syllabus in APHIS. I haven't gotten to it yet. It will be in APHIS. But if you follow this, you'll come to our site. This is the grading rubric, right? It's all the stuff that I just told you about with a bunch of links and a bunch of stuff you can go to. You can find that. We also have a quick summary document. And again, remember I said Google Documents are awful for disseminating open information. They work pretty good for disseminating documents to a class. So here's a Google document on kind of a structure of what I just talked about. Okay, so you can get those there. I'll also put it on APHIS. Yes, I thought that first link went there, Nia. So thank you. We also have a handbook, and the handbook pulls directly from the and Nia posted it into the slides, but the handbook pulls directly from the repository that I just showed you. So if you come in here and do a little get started and come down to grading, right, there's the overview, right, there's the rubric I just presented, and all of these are pulled directly from the repository, so they all should be consistent unless I broke something last night, which is one of the joys of open source is eventually we will break something and then fix it, or somebody else will find it and fix it for us. Okay, so go there. I gave you, believe it or not, the elevator pitch on all this. Links in the context of a GitHub repository are, well, if we come back, there we go. If we come all the way back to my status update, right, this is a GitHub repository. I clicked on that link. It came to a specific commit with a specific SHA. If you're a little bit more, if you're a little bit more nuanced or advanced, you can come in and you can do something like this, and then contributors, and then click on this and get all 11 of your commits all together in one place. The problem is if these aren't on the same branch, you're going to end up missing them. So if you give us one at a time, right? If you give me this, I can find all of your commits, right? If you give them to me one at a time, I can find them all. If you give me this, but you have things on multiple branches, you're going to miss some. So make sure that you give me, all the branches that are necessary. Okay? Yeah, don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate it. And also, like I said, it could also be a link to an issue, right? This is an issue. I opened an issue that said that I need to get started. And then I could put in supporting documentation here, right? And all of that stuff, we would go to this issue and we would look at the page and we'd say, wow, a lot of stuff. Or Professor Turner just opened an issue with no body and no information, so not very useful. Okay, the thing is just to make it easy for us. Because if it's easy for us, we're not going to miss stuff. It's not that we're lazy. It's just that the harder it is, the less likely we are to get it all. So we want you guys to make it easy. And then, by the way, then your grades are delayed, which is not good either. Okay, if you signed up for RCOS on SIS, you signed up for 4 credits. We do allow you to take from 1 to 4 credits. If you need to drop it down from 4 credits because you're running up against your 23 credits or 21 credits or whatever the different limits are, we can do that for you as well. The best thing to do is to contact Professor Goldschmidt about that, because that's who I'm going to send you to. But if you do have a question, contact me or Professor Goldschmidt, and we'll eventually get you to the right place. We do allow you to take RCOS for fewer credits, and we do give you, we don't make you do the same amount of work for 1 credit that you do for 4, and all the requirements above were for 4 credits. We do kind of drop it down a little bit as you go through. Project team formation due by June 4th. And notice I changed all the 2020s to 2021s, as well as changing the dates. Nia, I just missed that one. So June, and I'm going to probably run up against another one I missed in a few seconds, but we want you to be completely done forming teams a week from Friday. We're going to help you through that. We move pretty fast. We've got a lot of very helpful people who will be pitching proposals who want to work with you. Nobody pitching externally or internally is doing it because I'm forcing them. They're doing it because they want to work with you. So that's a really good starting point. We're going to ask you to write a proposal. Write again, long paragraph saying your overall vision, shorter paragraph saying what you want to get done this semester. And we'll give you more guidelines on this next couple of classes. And then 2 to 3 deliverables per person with an approximate date. 3rd week of the semester, I want to get this done. 8th week, I want to get this done. 11th week, I want to have this done. And any ideas you have about the technology you want to use. Next class, I will not be here. I actually have to attend a graduation. My son's graduating from Rose-Hulman in Indiana. I'm going to be driving there and attending in person even, which is kind of cool. But Professor Goldschmidt will be running the class. We will have the class. I'll publish more details on the WebEx we're going to be using for remote. And if we are able to meet in person, which we think we are, we'll publish the actual meeting room as well. But know that we do have a class on Friday. Professor Goldschmidt's going to be running. It's going to be the second most important class of the semester because it's going to have most of the project pitches going on. If you want to pitch, there is a pitch request form that I posted in Discord, apparently. Hopefully I have it later on. Fill out the pitch request form. Post your proposal slide to the slides channel. Try to give it to us 24 hours in advance. We're going to try to get most of these done on Friday. If we do have too many or you come up with a last minute brilliant idea, we will try to fit you in next Tuesday as well. But please, we're going to be going over a lot of pitches on Friday. If you want to pitch, let us know what you want to do. If you're a new member, look through RCOS.io and see the projects we've already done. See if anything, give you an idea for what's there. Start thinking about how to organize it, and reach out to in summer 2021 if you have on the Discord if you have any questions or want feedback. There's the link to our Discord. If you have an RPI email, you should be automatically allowed in. If not, DM me or Nia or Hunter, and we will get you verified. There are about 300 people in the Discord, so if you including ex-RCOSers and externals and all sorts of people. So is a very powerful, especially @everyone is a very powerful command. Think before you use it.
I think we limit people from adding everyone.
Awesome.
Just for the record. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. There are 5 channels you want to pay particular attention to. Summer 2021, I'm going to post everything there that you need to know, except for the things I post in announcements. Right? So summer 2021 is going to be stuff specific to this class. Announcements are more general RCOS stuff. If you have technical questions, post it to Help Desk. We're actually pretty good at responding to that. If we don't respond to it, then DM one of us, and we will take a look. It probably means that we thought somebody else would know, and we don't. But we'll help you. We will help you look into it. We don't let you stay stuck. Opportunities. There are internships, research stuff. People contact us all the time. when we get them, we post them in opportunities. And I think David Goldschmidt actually is in the midst of finalizing one of those right now. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity for some people to do some summer research. And then when we ask you to post presentations or anything, or if you want to review presentations, go to the slides channel. Before next class, this is how I'm going to tell if you attended today. Before next class, you have to go to RCOS.io and create a user for yourself. If you already have been a member of RCOS, you don't have to create one, assuming you did this before, but mark yourself active. So I want you to have a profile on RCOS and be active. You don't have to give us any information that you don't want to share. We do really appreciate your GitHub account because that will allow us to actually track your commits a little bit if we have to search for stuff. But just go on there, create an account, mark yourself as active, and that way we have the ability. That way I can tell that you're paying attention, and I have the ability to kind of track what you're doing at least somewhat. Check SIS, make sure you're in for the right number of credits. If you're not, contact Professor Goldschmidt and let's get that straightened out. And verify that you can log into Submittee for the RCOS project. Now, it's not exactly clear to me how fast that's being updated right now. Normally that updates within a day of the registrar clearing your paperwork. We're having a few delays because of, some unforeseen events a week or so ago. But I think everybody who registered initially should be on now. And if you're just turning in your forms, give it till about Thursday before you worry about it. But after Thursday, if you still can't get on, let me know and I'll put you in manually. The problem is if I put you in manually, then Submittee doesn't change you anymore. So if you change credits or you change or you drop or any one of a number of things, your status doesn't change and things get confused. So I prefer to let Submittee handle it automatically. That's much less fragile. We generally have 170 students and about 20 some mentors. I think this semester so far I have about 3 or 4 mentors, 2 coordinators, and about 70 students. So we could still use a few more mentors. If you want to, please go to this form and fill it out, particularly if you have experience. I will move off. I'm in the wrong place for that. Let me move myself someplace out of the way so you can actually get that. Okay. If you're interested in being a mentor, let us know. And I think that is everything that we had for you, except for I didn't put the pitch slide. I think that's already posted into the summer 2021 yes, the slides are already posted. I think the project pitch request is already posted into the summer 2021 channel. So please, if you're interested, please go there and fill it out. Okay, that was very long. Like I said, I'm sorry. We just want to make sure that we get a lot of questions, and every time I get a question, I try to answer it in the slide deck. So that's everything that I know about grading. Any other questions? If not, we have at least 2 pitches today. I think, Nia, you're probably first, right? Let me get myself out of here. Yep. I don't need to be here when you're talking. All right, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Nia. I introduced myself earlier. I'm the project manager and creator and full stack developer currently on Telescope, which is eventually going to replace Observatory as the RCOS website. We'll be able to use it to track attendance. and maybe even submit status updates. And there's a Discord bot associated with it now, and it's very cool. I've been working on it solo for a few semesters. I think 3 now, actually. And it's been going pretty well, but now it's, the tech stack is established enough and the project is large enough that I'm looking to take on a few developers to help me bring it all the way to 1.0 sometime this semester or before the fall semester at latest. So our stack is Rust, Handlebars, GraphQL, and Bootstrap. Um, Anything lower than that, there is a database behind it, but that's the RCOS database, and I'll manage that. But if you have any experience in any of those and are looking for a project this semester, I'd be happy to have you. Most of the work that we have to do at this point is front end. Our back end is pretty much done. It's pretty built out at this point. So if you're a front end developer or full stack developer and you have any experience with handlebars and Bootstrap especially, feel free to reach out to me on Discord or email me, and um, I'm happy to have you. Is Hunter here to pitch? Or no, not Hunter. Is Leon here to pitch open circuits?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can. You sound very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Very clear. Whatever.
Cool. All right. Hi. My name is Leon, and this is Open Circuits. So Open Circuits is a project I started almost 5 years ago now. It's been at RCOS for 3 years with great success. We are an online free digital circuit designer where users can design and simulate circuitry. Our tech stack mostly consists of TypeScript and HTML/CSS along with React. And we use Golang for our backend. And for the past few semesters now, more and more, I've been trying to emphasize clean, good, and consistent code and as much documentation as possible. And while this is still all coming together quite slowly, I do try and go over as much as possible and try to be as helpful as I can to anyone new to the project. And so I'd recommend this project for anyone interested in joining a large, well-established project, someone who wants to learn the basics of web app development, or someone who likes circuitry and that kind of stuff. We really do accept people of all different levels of skills in programming. But I do want to note that I currently have an internship at Google this summer, so I won't be able to be available 24/7, and I might miss some of the meetings. But I will do my best to manage the project, and I do have some returning members I know, so we'll also be able to help out with that. And yeah, that's Open Circuits. You can contact me at my information there at the bottom if you're interested in joining. And thank you so much. I hope you all have a great time at RCOS.
All right. Thank you, Nia and Leon. I'm not going to do an attendance today. Like I said, if you put yourself active on Observatory on arcos.io, I will pick that up and mark you as active as having attended. You have to do that by Friday. So I'm even giving you an extra day for those of you who are starting late. Any questions before we wrap this up? Any questions about the syllabus? Any questions about any of the projects you saw so far? One of the reasons we wanted to do a couple of pitches today was Nia and Leon, as they mentioned, are pretty experienced. So I wanted people to see kind of what we're looking for in the pitches. So those are what you got to compete with. That's your enemy in terms of getting the best RCOS developers. But they're pretty nice for enemies. Pitches can be more than one slide, but we try to limit it to 1 or 2 slides, just because that first slide is what we're gonna, people are gonna look for that when they're trying to find the project. So we want one, at least we want one nice slide that's colorful and memorable. At least that's our recommendation. But yeah, if you can do 1 or 2, or you know, and if you've got a lot of stuff that to put in, do 3. But remember that you can't bore. You know, there's a lot of pitches. We need to go through them, and you don't want people thinking, oh man, that one was just so long that I can't. You know, he's drawing it on like Professor Turner. All right. Anything else? Okay, we've got about 55 minutes, believe it or not, before the end of class. So I think what I'm going to do is, unless there's other questions, Leon, you did a great job. I love that one slide. So yes, you don't have to crump it all into one slide, but it's easier and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so I'm gonna turn off the recording at this point. Any more questions, and I'll answer them. You know, any public questions, I'll answer them. Then I'm just gonna hang out here until 3:35. I've got some stuff that I can work on. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me, stick around. We can, I don't know, do a sideboard or something if it's private, or if it's something that we just answer publicly, I'll just answer it. All right. Thank you all. Welcome to the summer arch. Should be good. We're off to a good start. And I'll see you next Tuesday because Professor Goldschmidt is on the firing line tomorrow, Friday.
Someone in chat asked where they can find more projects. More projects will be pitched Friday.
Yeah. If you want to look on RCOS.io, let me pop over there for a second. You can look at all of our old projects, some of which will be pitched. One of them includes Submittee. So if you just come down and do RCOS.io, right, and you come down and do the view projects, and all of the projects, Open Circuits is fast. No, I guess I put these 3 on. These are the 3 that are currently active. If you want to look at past projects, it takes a minute, but they come up as well. You can see there's a fight to be first. These are all the projects that we've worked on over, or most of the projects we've worked on over the last 15 years. That's one of the reasons why NIA is having problems, is I'm requiring them all to not lose this data for me. And they're being very careful, very nice about it. But, you know, these are things that have gone on. If you want to see the types of things we've worked on, some of these will be, like Exalander, I expect will run, if not this semester, in the fall. Poll Buddy should run this summer, I think, assuming Hunter's interested in running it. Glimpse was running the last couple of semesters. I think Eric may have graduated though. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. If you want to pick something up, it's all open source. You can always reopen it, or maybe just use it to get ideas.
Someone asked what pitch means. By that we mean a pretty short 1 or 2 slide, generally 1 slide, explanation of basically what your project is, what tech it uses, and what you're looking for in developers. And that way people will be able to know if they're a good fit to work on your project this semester, or if they should look at other projects.
So one thing to think about, very excellent definition, Nia. One thing to think about when you're doing this is the way they always phrase this is, assume you're on an elevator ride with a billionaire venture capitalist, right? Somebody you're trying, and you wanted to get them to invest in your project. Make them interested. Right? This is supposed to be the 30 seconds you got to talk to this person before they can run screaming out of the elevator away from you. All right.
Someone asked what it means to be active on RCOS.io. If you go to RCOS.io, And then if this is your first semester, create an account. And then go to user settings, and there should be a checkbox that you can click that says active.
Right. So if I go up, if I log in, I can't log in without. Yeah.
I think you got it.
Got it? Okay. So that took me way too long. But I should make myself active too. Right? Just come down here and you click yourself as active. I made everybody inactive before this meeting. Okay. So now I should be active. And then if we go in and look at developers, either you people are very fast or else. No, I checked it. It was clear earlier. So you people are just very fast. Okay, good.
Professor, I have a question. So I have a website that I'm planning on working on this summer, and I'm working on one with another team outside of RPI, and I was wondering if it's possible to just make the front end open source, because at this point we're kind of still in like a testing phase, and we don't really want to make the back end like public yet.
Mm-hmm. So, so you can't get credit for contributions to the back end.
Right.
And
that's okay.
Yeah, and I would want you to have I would want to have a well-defined API so that
Okay.
somebody else, somebody else trying to use your front end would know what they have to roll up for the back end. But it doesn't have to include
Right.
your data or anything like that. We have other projects like that as well. Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, cool.